The hangar has filled with thick foam 10 feet high that swamped the multi-million-dollar private jets housed inside. This was supposed to happen to suppress a fire, but there is no fire. It's another false deployment of a fire suppressant system that some in the industry are starting to feel is more trouble than it's worth. But it's a sensitive issue that could put FBOs and aircraft operators at odds with local fire regulations, while at the same time leaving them fretting over potentially damaging extremely valuable assets. Well, joining me today is my colleague from AIN, Kurt Epstein. He follows this beat very closely. Kurt, what's new here? Why is the industry now starting to question the use of foam in fire safety systems in hangars?
Well, Charlie, it's not that they've now started to question it. It's been a festering issue for quite some time now. But what's bringing it to a head is the fact that the National Fire Protection Association, NFPA, which is the foremost body in developing these regulations for structure fire protection, has a standard 409 which deals with aircraft hangars. And this is up for review. And that's what's spurring the industry effort right now to cause changes to this.
I see. So it's a moment where they could potentially reshape what happens here. But just to recap, I mean, is this a fairly common problem that hangars and aircraft are getting damaged by foam that's dispersed for no good reason? And when it does happen, I would imagine it could be pretty costly and troublesome to sort out.
It is a common problem, and the National Air Transportation Association commissioned a study from the University of Maryland to show just how often this occurs. And the researchers weren't able to get a full picture of this, but just from the insurers and the companies that participated, they were able to piece together that there's one of these false discharges about every 6 weeks for the past 16 years.
Wow.
And if you add that up, it goes into the multi-millions. The accounting for these things is very, very difficult. I tried to get a full accounting of one of these events, and it's nearly impossible given the number of insurers involved and the various cases back and forth. But these cases could have accounted for anywhere between $60 and $230 million worth of damages over that time.
Wow, that's pretty extraordinary. And of course, a great worry if you've got an aircraft parked in a hangar and you're constantly fretting, is this thing going to go off and play out badly for me? Does the industry have other options for protecting the aircraft and the people against hangar fires? And I'm guessing foam isn't the only game in town.
Well, the reason foam was picked was to fight fuel leaks and fuel leak fires. And the actual regulation dates back to the days when airplane hangars were worth more than the aircraft that were in them. And that's been turned on its head now. You can have one business jet in a hangar that's storing several, where the business jet alone could be worth 10 times the cost of the hangar. Yeah. So as airplanes had fuel tanks, the fuel tanks would leak. And as aircraft grew larger, their wings would grow steadily wider. And the fire authorities began to fear that if there was a fuel fire underneath a wing, sprinklers alone wouldn't be able to reach that fire, and it would go out of control, burning down the hangar. As well, they realized that water isn't the best solution to fighting a fuel fire, and it would actually spread it. So that's when the foam recommendations came in. Now, NFPA has no power of its own to mandate these things, but their recommendations are taken by many of the local fire authorities. So if NFPA says it, a lot of the local fire codes will say that's good enough for us and we'll adopt it.
Yeah, why wouldn't they, I suppose?
Yeah, so these fires, as the aircraft technologies grew better, the fuel tank leakage has become largely a thing of the past. The wings do not drip. If you go into many aircraft hangars that contain business jets, they are immaculate. There's not a stain on the floor. And also, advances in the fuel technology itself have raised the flashpoint to also make the possibility of an uncontained fuel spill fire a very, very, very remote possibility. So the very nature of what these foam systems were designed to combat is very much not an issue, and you'd be hard-pressed to find an insurer who's dealt with this over the past.
Yeah, good point. So I suppose this is a good moment then for the industry to have this chance to do some consultation over what could come next. How do you feel this might play out? And would you say NATA's intervention here could help get a better outcome for the industry?
Well, in my article, as I said, the inadvertent hangar foam discharge is like the social disease of the FBO set. Anyone who's ever had one doesn't want to talk about it. And if you have had one, it's obvious, because if you have someone who's going to be parking their multi-million-dollar business jet in your hangar, the last thing you want is for them to know, oh, gee, you had a hangar foam discharge, because these things can cost money.
Yeah.
One, depending on your brand of business jet, one large cabin jet, if you have any exposure to hangar foam, the manufacturer recommends immediately removing and discarding the brakes and wheels, which is at least $1 million price tag on top of anything else. The foam is corrosive. It can cause damage to avionics. Some manufacturers take a very pragmatic approach to it and say just hose it down. Others say disassemble the components, examine them, and replace as necessary. Others, as I mentioned, say toss them all together. So it is a concern.
Yeah. Okay, good point. Well, I'm glad you're keeping an eye on that. And as Kurt mentioned, you can read his excellent article on this subject at ainonline.com. I'm pretty sure, Kurt, this isn't the last we've heard of this, but thank you for helping us to make sense of it.
Sure, Charlie. As the actual revision has had some COVID headwinds now. So this could be going into next year or into 2022. So we'll keep an eye on when this actually will take place.
Good point. I hadn't appreciated that. Okay, thank you for watching.